right? I think we should watch the explain, man. Let's just watch the explain. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, I don't say too much.
What is up, my Dunes? It is time again to journey to Arrakis because Dune is back, baby! That's right, my fellow
Thirsty?
Fedaykin. The long-awaited trailer for the next installment of the Dune film franchise dropped, and we finally have our first look at Dune Part 3. The upcoming adaptation of Dune Messiah will introduce some brand new characters, reveal exciting new lore, and explore the next chapter in the life of Paul Muad'Dib Atreides. And we here at Nerdist, mostly me, are very excited to break down every part of this teaser trailer. As always, before we get too deep into any Dune content, we do like to point out that Nerdist is owned by Legendary Pictures, which produces the current Dune films and television series. But if you've been around our channel for a while, you'll know that I'm a huge Dune fan, and I would be talking about the world of Dune anyways. Besides, I read Dune and Dune Messiah before Legendary even existed, so I've already seen what's been written. With that out of the way, let's get started. But fair warning, we obviously will be spoiling major parts of Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2, and some key details from what we know from Dune's sequel, Dune Messiah. So, if you want to go into this next movie completely blind, here's your spoiler warning. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? First, you
Should we watch this? Should we watch this,
should
bro?
know that Dune Part 3 is based off of the sequel to the first Dune novel, Dune Messiah. Dune Messiah takes place 12 years after Paul Atreides had unleashed his Fremen armies across the Dune Imperium as he formed his new empire. The story picks up at a crucial time during his reign, as pressure mounts for Paul to sire an heir. At the same time, a conspiracy forms against him amidst unrest in his empire. Meanwhile, Paul wrestles with his powerful abilities as he tries to avoid a tragic future his prescient sight has revealed. The trailer begins with a small basin of water and someone washing their hands. This first image immediately calls to mind a scene in Dune Messiah where Paul notices an open puddle of water on the streets of Arrakis. After Paul had led the Fremen in their uprising by promising them a green paradise on Arrakis, many Fremen eventually came to despise the sudden terraformation of their planet. It meant the end of their desert lifestyle and culture, but that's an important theme for later. The water basin is intercut with what seems to be a flashback scene with Paul and Chani from their time together in Dune Part 2. They discuss what they would name their child, and here, Chani wears her blue Najoni scarf that we saw her wear in Dune Part 2. Fremen women would wear these scarves if they had given birth to a son, or if they were romantically involved with a partner. And the fact that Chani wears this here while she and Paul speak of their potential child lends credence to the fan theory that Chani was actually pregnant in Dune Part 2. If Paul and Chani have a girl, Paul wants to name her Ganima, the Fremen word for a spoil of war. In the Dune book, Paul received a Ganima when he defeated Jamis, a prize that came with a great cost. So, we'll just have to wait and see what great cost Paul and Chani must pay if they have a daughter. If Paul and Chani have a son, Chani suggests they name him Leto after Paul's father. In the Dune book, Paul and Chani originally have a son during Paul's war against the Harkonnens, but the child is killed by the Emperor Sardaukar. The trailer here makes a slight shift, focusing on Paul's relation to his late father's legacy, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But at the end of this conversation,
Did he say?
the Dune book, Paul and Chani originally have a son during Paul's war against the Harkonnens, but the child is killed by the Emperor Sardaukar. The trailer here makes a slight shift, focusing on Paul's relation to his late father's legacy, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But at the end of this conversation, we see who has been washing in the water basin. It is bald Atreides, now with a shaved head and alone, years after this calm moment with his Seahide.
Bald Atreides.
How much time has passed is hard to exactly guess, as the trailer shows multiple battles from Paul's campaign to consolidate his power. Some of these battles could be flashbacks as well, or this adaptation of Dune Messiah could take place amidst Paul's ongoing galactic war. These horrendous and destructive scenes potentially show us battles that are merely mentioned in Dune Messiah. Battles like Sembu, Molitor, and possibly Naraj, where its army set off a dangerous stone burner. That's important for later. And the brutality and devastation of these wars show how fearless of a fighting force the Fremen truly are. Stilgar, Paul Muad'Dib's devoted commander, is seen leading the charge against one planet that refused to bend the knee to his emperor. I'm hoping that we get to see the Battle of Enfile, a formative battle that led some Fremen, like the Fedaykin Farouk, to doubt the purpose behind Muad'Dib's war. But joining Paul and his Fedaykin is his younger sister, Alia Atreides, our favorite toddler with...
I was gonna say that in the last video. I didn't. Cause like, I forgot, buddy. Like, I forgot even how the sister came into the 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 last part anyway.
The knife is all grown up since we first encountered her in Dune Part 2, when she was still in Jessica's womb, and when we saw her as an adult in Paul's vision. Here in the trailer, though, we see Alia is the same age as when we saw her in Paul's vision, which leads us to believe that the time jump between parts 2 and 3 may be longer than the 12 years in the books. Alia is another powerful result of Bene Gesserit breeding, and has many of the same physical and prescient abilities as her brother. Unfortunately for Alia, when Jessica drank the water of life in Dune Part 2, Alia was immediately awoken into consciousness and flooded with the same thousands of generations of ancient memories as Jessica.
She talks to me.
Hopefully, that won't be an issue for her.
See, I forgot. I forgot all about it, bro. Oh my gosh.
But that will be for your children of Dune to find out.
What are you guys laughing about?
Don't bother.
Alia is devoted to her brother's cause and helps perpetuate the religion of Muad'Dib. She even leads his empire in his absence, as we can see in this shot of the throne room. She joins him in prayer before battle, blessing his Fedaykin warriors before they run into the fray. Someone with prayer beads on their wrist hands over Paul's ducal signet to someone in a stillsuit. Could this be Paul or a priest handing Alia the Atreides ring for safekeeping? We also see what is probably my favorite shot in the entire trailer. Alia standing atop the balcony of her temple, delivering rites to the countless pilgrims who have traveled to Arrakis to worship Muad'Dib. Her knowledge of the Bene Gesserit's ways allows her to weaponize religion to strengthen Paul's hold on power. But Dune Messiah's story doesn't only follow the rise of the Atreides Empire. Many factions of the Old Imperium want to bring an end to Paul's tyrannical reign. And so a conspiracy emerges from an alliance between the Bene Gesserit, the scheming Tleilaxu, and the powerful and mysterious Spacing Guild. In Dune Part 1, we briefly saw a few members of the Spacing Guild and learned about their monopoly on space travel and their dependence on the spice melange. But now, we finally get our first look, well, look-ish, at a full Spacing Guild navigator. In this brief shot, we see a threatening floating sarcophagus with the navigator named Edric enclosed inside. Guild navigators are human beings who have become extremely mutated and fish-like due to ingesting and breathing heavy doses of spice gas. Their use of spice allows them limited prescience, which they can then use to foresee safe pathways among the stars to steer their gigantic Highliner ships. But in front of Edric, we also get our first look at Robert Pattinson as Scytale, the Tleilaxu face dancer. The Tleilaxu are a new antagonist we meet in Dune Messiah. They are a secretive race of humans who specialize in bioengineering and are reviled by the rest of the Imperium due to their unethical practices. Their abhorrent creations include shape-shifting humanoids called face dancers, born out of the Tleilaxu's mysterious axolotl tanks. In the books, face dancers were created as forms of entertainment, but their ability to mimic the looks, sounds, and personas of others made them optimal tools for espionage and assassination. But here, Scytale is not just a useful master of disguise for this conspiracy plot. He is also an agent with an ulterior motive for the Tleilaxu. In the trailer, we see the members of this conspiracy convene on a massive Spacing Guild ship. Leading this meeting is Irulan, whom we met in Dune Part 2. At the end of that movie, Paul takes her as his wife in name only, so that he can assume the throne, and she hasn't been too happy about that. In the book, the Reverend Mother Goddess Helen O'Hyam leads this conspiracy, but we don't see her here in the trailer. Charlotte Rampling is still credited at the end of the trailer, so she may appear in this scene, or could be limited to a flashback. This plot against Paul takes on a multi-pronged approach in the book. Irulan and the Bene Gesserit interfere with Paul and Chani's attempts to have a child. If Irulan can mother Paul's heir, then the Bene Gesserit could once again harness the genes of their Kwisatz Haderach.
Kwisatz Haderach.
If Paul were to have a child with Chani, her Fremen genetics would forever alter the Bene Gesserit's long-formulated breeding program. Edric of the Spacing Guild acts as a cloak to hide the actions of the conspiracy from Paul's prescience. Because of a guild navigator's limited prescience, they too can alter the outcome of the near future, muddling the visions of any other prescient being. Paul cannot directly see their actions in any of his predictions, but he can notice the absence of their actions. And lastly, Scytale and the Tleilaxu provide the final piece of the conspirators' plan. Along with creating face dancers, the Tleilaxu were also infamous for creating Golas. Golas are not zombies or clones, but instead they are reanimated beings grown from dead flesh. They have no memory of their past lives, and the Tleilaxu can even genetically implant new skills and traits into these husks of former human beings. The conspirators aim to present Paul with a gift he certainly cannot refuse. The Tleilaxu had made a Gola of none other than Paul's best friend and mentor, Duncan Idaho. That's right, baby, Duncan's back. In Dune Part 1, Duncan saved Paul by defeating an unheard of 19 Sardaukar before falling in glorious battle. We hate to see it, but now we see hate. Or rather, it's a Gola of Duncan who now goes by the name of Hate. You get it. In the years since his death, the Tleilaxu acquired Duncan's body and regrew it. And in addition to his skills as a swordmaster, the Tleilaxu also augmented Duncan's mind so that he could be a mentat, a human being who can function like a computer. And here we can see Scytale and Edric entering the palace of Muad'Dib to present Hate as a gift to Paul. The conspirators aim for Hate to confuse and muddle Paul's ability to rule. Many of the Fremen despise the Tleilaxu and see Paul's acceptance of this gift as a betrayal. But Paul misses his best friend and understands that hate is meant to be used as a weapon against him, so he will keep him close for now.
Hey. See you in Arrakis, my boy.
And so all of this sets the stage for tumultuous unrest in Paul's empire. Paul's grip on power is pushed to its limits as he comes to understand the problems of the institutions that form around charismatic leaders like himself. He is surrounded by enemies on all sides, even among the Fremen. In what appears to be another scene directly out of the book, Paul, his elite guard, and possibly even Alia scour the city of Arrakeen at night to quell an insurgent faction of Fremen. But Paul and his loyal fighters find much more than they bargained for with what we can only assume is a stone burner. Stone burners are devastating weapons in the Dune universe. The Dune Imperium has a hard stance on the use of atomic weaponry, and anyone who uses atomics against another human or planet is sentenced to ultimate destruction. Paul used a loophole in Dune Part 2 where he used the Atreides family atomics against the shield wall itself, not the Emperor Sardaukar army. Clear difference. But a stone burner is not an atomic weapon. Rather, it uses its atomic energy source to bore deep into a planet's crust. It has one side effect, however. Its explosive release of energy is destructive to soft tissue in the body, and usually burns away the eyes of anyone too close. In this explosion, Paul is front and center, so we'll just have to wait and see how he survives such a vicious attack.
My road leads into the desert. I can see it.
Now that's everything we can spot based on what we know from the book, but this trailer still holds a few surprises for us. We'll keep speculating on just how much time has passed between parts 2 and 3, but we have another scene to consider. In Dune Messiah, Lady Jessica is on a long vacation with Gurney back on Caladan, and she never appears in the story. But it looks like we'll get a surprise appearance of Paul's Reverend Mother in what looks like a flashback with Paul on his home planet. Paul here has long hair and wears his Atreides uniform. But his eyes are blue from the water of life, and Jessica is a Reverend Mother from the end of Part 2. So this scene must take place soon after Paul's rise to power. Here, the trailer returns its focus to Duke Leto's legacy.
How did Father do it?
Your father never started a war.
This Dune trilogy stresses the importance of the relationship between father and son.
Your father didn't believe in revenge.
Hell, I do.
And it seems that in Dune Part 3, Paul still struggles to lead in a way that would honor his father.
They'll walk,
You'll
though.
still be the only thing I ever needed you to be. My son.
Paul's empire and the power of his Fremen armies have gone beyond his control, trapping Paul and the rest of humanity into a dangerous path into the future. As for what Lady Jessica gets up to in the rest of this movie, it's hard to tell, but I'm sure she's playing Gurney's Balisette for the time being. And that's not a euphemism, I think.
I am smiling.
But this trailer ends with an interesting scene that seems to differ from Dune Messiah and builds off of Chani's expanded role in the film adaptations of the first book. At the end of Dune Part 2, Chani left Paul and ran away into the desert. In this trailer, we finally catch up with Chani, more battle-scarred and desert-worn than when we last saw her. Chani seems to be squaring off against 2 other Fremen, so could she be fighting the rebellious plot against Paul? What's interesting, however, is that it looks like they are all standing on the back of a sandworm. The Dune Messiah novel briefly mentions The Dune Messiah novel briefly mentions some conspirators attempting to smuggle a sandworm off of Arrakis in the hopes of starting their own spice trade. So we avid readers might get to see this fully played out in a massive action scene. So, what will happen in the end? How long is the time jump between parts 2 and 3? What has Chani been up to in the desert? What is the fate of Paul Atreides and his empire? As the trailer ends, we hear Paul defy his fate as he hopes to redeem himself.
I'm not afraid to die, but I must not die yet.
Anyways, folks, that's everything we spotted in this first trailer for Dune Part 3. We'll have to just wait and see what else the future holds, unless a stone burner finds us first. In the meantime, you
Not
can
the
catch
stone
up on
burner.
all things Dune with our previous breakdowns here on YouTube or by reading our mini articles on Nerdist.com. But what do you folks think? What else did you catch in this first trailer? Are you excited to return to the Duneverse with Dune Part 3? And do you think Part 3 is what Farouk calls his third arm? Book readers will get it. Let us know in the comments below, and for everything spicy in the world
Not a
of pop
book
culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.
Not a book reader, sorry. Cool. Cool little emblem. Alright, shoot. We're at. I give it a like. The trailer has been out not even 3 hours and he makes a breakdown of it. Now, for real. A return of the king for all Dune fans. Can't wait for Duncan, Idaho. Good luck. Okay. The way you said blind is very suspicious. December 18th is Doomsday. I like that. But is it a Wednesday? No, it's a Friday, right? What the freak? I went past. If I hear Skytail again, I'm gonna burst. How you say it? I think it might start off with the flashback scenes. That was actually an amazing breakdown. Yeah, I learned some things. You know what I'm saying? Alright, that's it for that. It's Doom Part 3 explained, man. Good stuff, man.